I've been coding for a long time. I enjoy writing code, but I spend a lot of time doing it. But it's 2026, people. We don't need to do that anymore. I can clone myself. I can take my knowledge and multiply it. Just watch me. I created an army of agents to create Code Connect on my behalf. So in the first video, we learned that documentation of our system is really critical, especially when we're providing design context to agents. We're sitting here with a component library that's really big, so we need to write all that documentation. And we actually might have one or more code libraries that it represents. That's a whole lot of Code Connect. I love writing Code Connect, and I'm not saying that because I work at Figma. I don't want to do it. I don't have time to do it. We can train our agent friends to do this on our behalf. You and I know what needs to happen. We know what needs to exist here, so we can tell agents to do that on our behalf. But then once we have that Code Connect, what happens if something changes? Designer renames a component property. Developer refactors a component definition. Agent gets a little out of hand. Once we have all this documentation, if things change, the documentation needs to change too. So let's use agents so that they can create and maintain these files over time. So what's required to write a Code Connect doc, people? Well, let's think about it as humans. To write a Code Connect doc, you need to know what exists in Figma, what the expectation is in the code base, and how to write Code Connect. We can also take the same approach to teach an agent how to use the Code Connect API.
Hi, it's me, Jake from the future, for this guy, Jake from the past to you. Here's the thing that they don't tell you about making green screen videos in the tech industry. Oftentimes, features ship by the time you're editing. So, I've got some good news and some bad news. The bad news is
large chunks of this video were made redundant and unnecessary.
Because the good news, Figma shipped 2 things that replace a lot of this work. So the first thing is an MCP tool called Get Context for Code Connect. This is distributed with our MCP server. We were going to write this with the REST API in this video. I wrote it, I shared it with the team, and they were like, let's go ahead and ship this with the MCP server. So now we don't have to write it. It's just baked into the server. So you can use that tool to get context out of Figma so that your agent can write better Code Connect on your behalf. Second, there is a skill now that is distributed with the Figma plugin that you can find in your agent's marketplace. You can also find it in a link we'll put in the description. It's a skill that lets agents know how to use Code Connect. It's the Code Connect API, everything they would need to know to write Code Connect. That's now distributed with that plugin. We were going to write that ourselves. We don't need to do it anymore. Shipped with the plugin. Thank you to the MCP team at Figma. Killing it. That's the only reason I'm here. Enjoy the rest of the video.
Here's a list of a ton of components that we want to have documented in our system. We're going to just provide all these URLs to an agent and say, create Code Connect for them using the code that's in our code base as a reference point, and it's going to go do its thing. It's just going to take a few minutes now, and we'll end up having most of our library documented with Code Connect by the end of it. Come on, guys. Can you hurry up? Just sitting here watching you. All right, great work, everybody. That wasn't too bad.
Be humble.
Let's take a peek at a design that uses a lot of components because that's where most of this impact is going to be. Here we have a design, ton of components. We could see that the code connections look like they're accurate here. But when we access this via MCP, that's where the magic's really going to happen. All right, so this is what our design context looks like without Code Connect, right? Because we don't know exactly what you need, we're providing everything. All of the style, all of the content, anything you could potentially need to implement this design. Now, it's pretty big. There's a lot of context here. Here's what this looks like with Code Connect. We could see every single component that has Code Connect on it is actually nice and precise. This is far more potent context. Our agents not only are going to benefit from tighter understanding of what needs to happen, this is also going to save us our context window. Now, for those that don't know, a context window is this kind of the amount of memory an agent can have when it's consuming information like this. And when it hits its limit, when there's too much information in the bank, it summarizes so that it can add more information and essentially compresses what it has. Now that's great, and these agents are pretty good at compressing that information, but that is lossy. You lose information in that summarization process. Our goal here is to make sure that we are summarizing as infrequently as possible, and the best way to do that is to provide potent context and nothing else. All right, so now we have everything we need, but a designer changed something in our library, and we don't know what. That's gonna be a needle in a haystack. This is one of my favorite things about Code Connect. We have all of these files in our code base, and we could tell an agent, go through each one, get its information from Figma, and make sure Code Connect is still up to date.
Okay.
And now, instead of creating these docs, our agents are actually validating them. And we could see here that that needle in a haystack change just surfaced. And let's make that change and publish it back up. Would you look at that? Code Connect's up to date. Working with agents and having a translation layer like Code Connect allow us to do our jobs most effectively so that our developers and their tools aren't spinning their wheels, wasting their time trying to do the right thing. That's pretty special. And while I'd love to take credit for writing every single one of these myself, I do have to give credit where credit is due to all our little agent buddies down there that helped us out along the way. Thanks, guys.